Time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornbluth and Will Pelagic. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
You just see little things about a defense that kind of, set off what they're going to do, little tips that you can see. And I feel like that's the main thing that hits you quicker, is whether, how the corner's playing and just little tips about a defense that you can pick up on a lot faster.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome back into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Here on a Tuesday night from downtown Columbia, our Main Street studios. Busy day, USC practicing in the morning. Several Gamecock players and receivers coach Brian McClendon made available to the media after practice over at Williams-Brice Stadium. We'll hear from the quarterback, Jake Bentley, along with McClendon. Clemson is on the field as we speak. They'll be coming off in a little bit, first day in full pads for the Tigers. And hopefully things go smoothly. They seldom do. But if they happen to go smoothly today, we'll bring you some thoughts from Dabo Swinney later on in the program. It is a big night here on Sports Talk. We welcome into the Sports Talk family officially on the air our new co-hosts, joining me and the professor and Jarmart. You've heard him a little bit. Now you'll hear him a lot. So let's welcome in Will Pelagic to Sports Talk, officially on board.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Phil and Pro. It's great to be with both of you, and I'm just excited. Today's a big day. It's an awesome day. You and I got to go to see Williams-Brice today and see the players out there. And I tell you what, I feel like these two programs, both Clemson and USC, it's a very interesting time for both for a variety of different reasons. With Clemson obviously coming off the national championship, you can only tie last year's success.
Yeah.
You can't beat it.
Right.
And USC trying to figure out if this whole Will Muschamp experiment would work. The one thing that I would think, and I think you could probably agree, is that we saw glimpses of the fact that the guy who coached last year at USC is not the guy who finished at Florida. We saw glimpses of the guy who was a fiery one at Florida and also had the fire at Texas. And I think, too, for them, the biggest thing that I think took today is that the probably most important part of that team is taking the right steps forward, and that's Jake Bentley.
Yeah, no question about that. And, Muschamp, I think he is driven by what happened at the end at Florida. He's a lucky guy in that he found a spot right away after a year as an assistant coach. He found a spot.
I mean, he failed upward, didn't he?
He did. He really he got lucky. He bounced back up quickly. I say lucky. I mean, he certainly had
Fortunate's a better word.
He had the reputation, the coaching reputation behind him, and the resume, as maybe dented as it was there at the end at Florida, that Ray Tanner felt like after going through the process and some things maybe not working out as he'd originally planned, maybe Ray Tanner feels fortunate that Will Muschamp was available and ready to come on board.
Well, we said that before. A guy who does not have to learn the conference, has been in the Southeastern Conference, but more than that, Phil, within a month, just about 6 weeks, I would say, had a staff loaded with consummate, strong coaches with SEC backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole staff knew the SEC, knew the recruiting territory, and jumped right on players who really hadn't made up their mind yet, and they were recruited by other programs and were able to bring them in.
And you made a great point yesterday too, Korn, and the fact that Muschamp, when it comes down to it, he's working with obviously inside the conference, but he's also working in a way that will make this thing go forward. And he will also, you'll have your lumps at the beginning, but you'll obviously have things that you will work on and see that, and he'll see it through.
800-956-7266. Our phone number tonight. You can welcome Will to the Palmetto State and the Sports Talk. Yeah, I guess technically welcome back because you were working in the
Low
Savannah,
Country,
Beaufort area.
Yeah, the Low Country,
Hilton Head, and you spent some time in Hilton Head.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Love my time in the Low Country. Love my time up here in a little closer to the state of Georgia, but it's very nice. It's very nice.
Yeah. All right, 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @SportsTalkSC is how you can reach us tonight. Plenty to talk about now as we've got another day of practice at USC behind us, and one is wrapping up at Clemson. No major notes that we can tell you about from USC. There's no major news. I think the theme of the day was the talk of the physicality of USC's practices from the various players, the pointing out that Will Muschamp wants to make the practices as difficult as possible, as tough as possible, so that the feel they get when they play NC State on September 2nd, the game will be like a picnic compared to what the practices have been like.
Well, the thing that I've found very interesting is just how much hitting they are doing. And I think, as I kind of parachute in here from 30,000 feet and land on the 50-yard line at Willie B, it really is interesting to see just how physical those practices are because, we're seeing a lot, obviously, of wanting to keep guys safe, wanting to keep guys healthy, and have them ready for that first week. But you also want to make sure that they're ready to be able to take the field and play against somebody other than themselves. And I think that you have to have that balance. But I am very intrigued by the prospects of the fact that there is a lot more physicality going on in those practices than would normally, it seems.
Well, they're going to need to be physical because NC State Pro is going to bring a very good defense. And I think NC State believes it's going to beat South Carolina. I think NC State believes it's the better team with the better defense and a good enough offense. And so South Carolina's offensive line, which should be better across the front because, well, number one, they've got another year behind them. It's a group that for the most part played last year. You look in the middle and spread out. Alan Knott is healthy. He's gone through an entire spring and summer, able to completely lift weights and add some size to his frame. He looks better, so he should do a better job at anchoring the middle. I think Donnell Stanley is just going to be great at left guard. I think that's a natural fit for him. Corey Helms is over the broken leg that he had and his injury issues, and he's solid at right guard. You got Hutcherson in there backing up and competing as well. The right tackle with Bailey looks very good. The big question mark is going to be that left tackle spot with Malik Young over there and the newcomer Dennis Daly competing. That's still unsettled at this point.
If your glass is half full, and no knock at Zandy, you're going to have a better athlete at left tackle, no matter who it is.
Right.
You have quicker feet. And that may save the day as far as your quarterback is concerned, because what Will Muschamp didn't have at Florida as a quarterback, he's got a quarterback now. And if his defense with more depth can really play to their strengths, remember early on, they were turning people over in the early part of the season, giving their offense the football in the brighter side of the 50-yard line. And I think that's the key this year. I think NC State, though, Phil, actually believes they can beat South Carolina because the odds have to be against South Carolina. Either in Charlotte or wherever they've been, when is the last time South Carolina lost to a North Carolina team? Even the team that only won, 3 or 4 games a couple of years ago beat that North Carolina team that reeled off 10 wins after they beat them.
And on that left tackle battle, I was talking to Malik Young earlier today, and it's interesting, that little dynamic with him and Dennis, because Dennis comes in here as a junior college transfer. Malik has the leg up in the system, but he's having to try and help Dennis along. But at the end of the day, are you trading your replacement? That's a kind of a catch-22 there. So, I mean, you want to be good. You want to be a good teammate, but you also want your PT as well.
Absolutely. So we'll see how that works out. The good thing is if they're very close, one will start, but you'll have a quality backup waiting in the wings and should somebody go down at that position.
And so much of the season is going to depend on Bentley being able to get the ball out quick, so that you might not need the offensive line to hold its ground as much. And I think the more that he gets his timing down, if he can get quick outs, quick routes, that maybe backs off a little bit of the front seven as well in the opposition.
All right, we'll hear from Bentley coming up here in just a couple of moments on Sports Talk, and we'll take your phone calls, 800-956-7266. Your thoughts, your comments, your suggestions, your ideas, your
make
praise,
fun of me
of course.
Make fun of me as well.
We allow people to criticize us, Will, but to be honest with you, I just don't know what there is to criticize. We leave it out there for people, but they never take advantage of it. All right, we'll be back in just a moment. Sports Talk Tuesday nights from downtown Columbia. Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. 800-956-7266. I tell you, between Kornblut and Pelagic, we've pretty much got the alphabet covered.
We could do a pretty good Scrabble game with that.
Really could. Now, we've got to give you a nickname. I had a couple in mind. Don't think they went across real well. That's never stopped me from applying a nickname. However,
That's how you end up with Jarmart.
yeah, Jarmart's a great nickname. I think that's just.
I think you should call him J-Rod.
I don't like that. I like Jarmart because he forces three names on you. So I'm incorporating I think all three names in Jarmart.
Right.
Jared, Rogers, Martin.
You think there's a little pretension in the fact that he uses three different names?
I think it's a little something. But you like Willie P?
That's what I was called when I was in Missouri. That's what I was called when I was in Houston. It's what's on my Twitter account at Willie P Style. So
Willie P Style.
Yeah, that's a thing. It's a way of life.
That's a thing.
It's a way of life, Phil.
Of course, we got Willie B here in Columbia.
That's part of the reason
where the
also
Gamecocks
that works.
play.
It works.
And so you like Willie P. All right, Willie P. Let's take a vote. We're all in on Willie P.
We could put it up on Twitter as a poll.
As a poll question.
Twitter poll.
Yeah.
Well, your vote was P Lodge, and I don't like that.
That's what I'm saying. I like P Lodge. I like Z squared. Because you have as many Z's in your name as Coach Krzyzewski.
I like when you said Z-Man. Z-Man was good.
Z-Man, you like Z-Man?
Dr. Z.
We talked about Dr. Z, but somebody else uses Dr. Z.
Well, the deceased sports writer from Sports Illustrated, Dr. Z.
Yeah, Paul Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Has he passed away?
I thought he passed. Either he passed away or
he'll be
retired.
surprised to find out that you've got him dead.
Still very much alive? I don't know.
All right, 800-956-7266. Let's go to Delvin in Fountain Inn. Welcome into Sports Talk, Delvin.
Still alive.
You got which nickname do you like for Mr. Pelagic here?
I guess Twitter handle Willie P. I like that.
You like Willie P? Willie
Look
P.
at Delvin coming up strong. I like that. I like that.
And first of all, welcome back to the States, man. Welcome back to South Carolina.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
I got a couple things. Yeah, I got a couple things. What do y'all think about Josh Rosen's comment? What he said today, but he went off on a lot of topics about school and NFL, and we think about that former Alabama quarterback being bitter at this seven because a better player beat him out for the job. And I get your answer out there. So thanks for taking my call, guys.
Well, the Rosen comments were very interesting. I don't know if you saw this earlier, Corn, but he basically said that human beings don't belong in school and in football practice, and he said that football and school don't go together because of how amazing their schedules are that they have to maintain. I would cause a little bit of I throw a little bit of shade back that way. I mean, I know that the schedule is such to where it's crazy, but in my mind, they are student athletes.
He also took a couple of shots at some other schools.
Yeah, he said if
their academics and
he said if you could if you had to raise the SAT requirement at the University of Alabama, see how their football team would be.
Right. Took a shot at Deshaun Watson for graduating in 3 years. Pointing out that his comment was, well, you can graduate in 3 years if you major in sociology and something like that. And that was not what Deshaun.
Hey man, Matt Leinart took ballroom dancing in his senior year at USC or at Southern Cal rather when he went to the national championship game against Texas. So if you can do that, you can do anything.
Well, when you make comments like that, you got to consider from where the comment is coming. Josh Rosen grew up in the lap of luxury. Parents very wealthy. He lives in the Hollywood section of Los Angeles. And
you ever been out to Westwood?
I have, yeah. And he has he obviously is a guy with a great deal of talent, but he also came in to UCLA pretty full of himself. Remember the picture of him in the hot tub in his dorm room? He had that brought in. So I think he came in as one of those athletes, feeling like he was owed something for I don't know what reason. But I'm not taking anything away from him as a talented quarterback. He can really make UCLA a contender out west with his performance. But be slighting the achievements of others who had to come up in some very difficult circumstances, as we all know. With Deshaun Watson, what makes his story even more impressive is his humble background of living in houses that were built by Habitat for Humanity. His mom suffering from cancer of the tongue and losing the ability to speak to some degree. And then going to Clemson and not only becoming the face of college football, more the face of college football than Rosen has been or probably ever will be, and winning a national championship and finishing, well, should have been the Heisman Trophy winner, but finishing well up in the voting for 2 consecutive years.
Remember now, the Habitat Humanity sponsor back then who handed them the keys to the house was Warwick Dunn. When he was playing for the Falcons at running back, the old Florida State running back. Rosen reminds me of the guy who understands that he's trying to market himself and he's just going to say some wild stuff to have people like us around the country talking about him so his name gets out.
But on that, Pro, if I'm an NFL head coach right now and looking at him and trying to draft him next year, you don't want a guy who's complaining about time management.
No.
You want somebody who's able to handle the rigors of having to balance academia along with practice schedule for a collegiate team the caliber of UCLA's.
All right, thank you for the call. 800-956-7266. Speaking of quarterbacks, no such problem with Jake Bentley. I mean, as talented as he is very, very well-grounded, much like Deshaun was at Clemson, does not have that sense of entitlement. That was the word. Bentley, putting in the work, putting in the hours in preparation. And, one thing they'll be able to do is pick up the pace this year, allow him to make calls at the line of scrimmage. And today, when we met with him after practice, one of the things that he talked about was the quick pace of play and how they have picked things up in practice and how much he likes that.
Just the competitiveness around the whole offense. See guys really getting after it, bringing it every day. No matter if it's hot, no matter what the circumstances are, guys are really coming out to practice the right way and having the right mentality going out there.
You said a couple of weeks ago one thing you could do to help out was make quicker decisions and help your offensive line in the protection standpoint. Are you there yet where you can see them doing a better job, but you're also helping them in protecting you as a passer?
Yeah, just making smarter, quicker decisions. You can see that with every one of our quarterbacks, just teaching it, another year of learning it and just learning our protections better, knowing what our problems are, and just getting the ball out.
A lot of players in your years of expertise, they always say the game slows down. How much is that as you've experienced, at least throughout practice?
Yeah, I experienced a lot. You just see little things about a defense that kind of, set off what they're going to do, little tips that you can see. And I feel like that's the main thing that hits you quicker is whether, how the corner's playing and just little tips about a defense that you can pick up on a lot faster.
When was the aha moment, like when you're thinking, okay, I've got this all?
I'm really just trying to still learn, just trying to, embrace our system and learn, everything about a defense. Really haven't had that moment where, I think I got it all because, there's never that moment. You're always trying to learn, you're always trying to get better.
You get humbled a little bit.
Yeah. When you think you know everything, the defense throws something out you never seen, and they make a good play on the ball, and so you got to reevaluate and just try to learn everything you can.
All right, there you go, USC quarterback Jake Bentley, and boy, so much is riding on that young man's legs and arm, more of his arm. Though he'll have to scramble some. He has the ability to scramble, but they'd love for him to be able to stand in the pocket. But he's got to help that offensive line reduce. They've got to cut that sack total by at least 2/3. 41 sacks they allowed last year. They got to do a better job of that, and they're going to be tested right off the bat.
Not only tested
with the defensive line they're going to face from State.
It's not only a big test for him, but I think he at least knows he has the acumen to be able to know where he has to be with it and know where he needs to go with the football. It's all about putting brain into practice.
And show the offensive line play of the New York Jets when Namath was there. You didn't hit him. If they had to pull your jersey off, you weren't hitting our quarterback.
Well, I'll tell you what, one thing USC cannot afford is any injury to Jake Bentley because they are totally naked behind the quarterback. All right, we'll be right back. 800-956-7266. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, 800-956-7266. Our poll question on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, SportsTalkSC.com. Poll question is, how much will the USC offense average this season? Right now, by a scant 3 votes, the leader is 30 to 35 points. Next, 25 to 30. Next is under 25. That's your Clemson contingent checking in there. Yeah, under 25. No, very few people think the Gamecocks will average over 40 points a game this year.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah, that's doable. I mean, really good, high-powered offenses reach 40 points.
I don't think anybody's worried about them scoring points.
Yeah, but if you think about it, Muschamp, depending on how the offensive line gels, may get a lead and go old school. We're not scoring points. We're running clock, and we're just going to run the ball down your throat with those 2 big backs we have and run clock.
There's 2 schools of thought. I mean, you can play like the old Big 12 used to, and you just keep scoring and hope to God they don't catch you. But, in that vein, like Pro said, there is some prudence with that 3-headed monster they have in the backfield between, Dowdle and Turner and Williams, especially with Tyson coming in here very hungry from North Carolina. It'll be very, very attractive to run the football now.
Absolutely. All right, 800-956-7266. Couple of notes out of Clemson's practice. In yellow today, according to our eyes on the Tigers, Shadell Bell, tight end, has a boot on his right foot. Amari Rogers in yellow. Cornell Powell, Canyon Tuttle, linebackers Chad Smith and Logan Rudolph, corner Mark Fields, defensive end Cleveland Farrell, and guard Tyrone Crowder. Come on, Corn. Safety Van Smith was in a green jersey. Junior receiver Ray McLeod, who's had a wrist, resumed pass-catching drills today.
That's good for them.
And he's also worked some at defensive back. So that is, I don't think it's going to be anything extensive, but I think they want to kind of cross-train him a little bit. He was a very good cornerback prospect coming out of high school.
5'10", I mean, it's a little short. I mean, you want a corner to be a little bit bigger than that, I would think.
Well, if you can find them, but what you got there is quick on quick.
Yeah.
I mean, you got very good quickness there in Ray McLeod. Again, I don't think they're going to do anything to prevent him from getting his full offensive snaps. I think because he can't catch the ball or couldn't catch the ball because of his wrist, they had him working out on the defensive side a little bit. Plus, Amari Rogers had come on so quickly. They wanted to give him maybe some more snaps,
right.
And that gave him the opportunity to get more work. A couple of other things. The coaches' FCS poll is out today, and the Citadel, Wofford, and Charleston Southern are ranked. You've got Wofford 11, the Citadel 12, and Charleston Southern at number 14. In the coaches'
poll. They're going to have enough players at Charleston Southern and coaches after all the defections we saw?
Well, yeah, they got a full boatload as far as I know. They'll have a team.
There's a little bloodletting happening there, a little bit.
You mean between Charleston Southern and Coastal?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a shock to the system. Coach Mowgli took his leave of absence, and all of a sudden Jamie's running the show at Coastal.
Well, it wasn't a shock in where he went, because we almost had a feeling that he did do some interviews earlier, I think the year prior to this one, and we thought Jamie would land somewhere, but didn't know he was going to the rival.
Well, after they had, they had the situation last year with the penalties, and he was suspended for a game, and I think I can't speak for him, but certainly I think it's reasonable to believe there were some hurt feelings there, and he started. Look, the dude is a terrific coach. I mean, I really thought, no knock on Clay Hendricks, and Furman did a great job in getting him. I thought it was a no-brainer for Furman to go and hire Jamie Chadwell, and as much of that Charleston Southern staff as they could bring with them to go to Furman when that job was open. But he talked to him, I believe, but it never really materialized. But things have worked out. He's probably going to be the next head coach at Coastal Carolina if everything goes well. Bovada out in Las Vegas, their new odds for the national championship. Alabama, the odds have grown shorter for the Crimson Tide from 4-1 to 12-5 is what they are now. Southern Cal went from 9-1 to 6-1. Florida State, Ohio State went from 15-2 to 13-2. So the odds for those three got shorter. For these three, they grew longer. Florida State from 7-1 to 15-2. Michigan 9-1 to 16-1, and Oklahoma the same. Clemson went from 16-1 to 28-1. I think Vegas is starting to realize that it's hard to put short odds on a team winning it all when you don't know about the quarterback situation.
Well, the weird thing about Clemson, and I think we all kind of assumed that it would be kind of a two-headed race going into the fall, but it does seem like for the most part, again, we can't see it because we can't see practice, but it seems like Kelly Bryant has kind of taken the job by the reins. And I think that from that vein, you kind of wanted to see Hunter Johnson push him a little bit, but it seems like Bryant, I don't want to say head and shoulders ahead of Johnson, but in my mind, I would think he's at least there.
You have to consider the way Dabo does things, and this was very similar when Deshaun Watson was coming along. They would never name, even though Deshaun was clearly the future and the best quarterback, Cole Stout was the starter because he was the senior. He had the seniority, and he had done some nice things for them. But eventually, when it got down to the critical time of the season, you saw who became the starter. Kelly Bryant right now maybe he will prove with his playing in practice worthy of the job, but basically he's got the job only because he's been there longer.
Right.
Hunter Johnson or Chase Bryce or Zarek Cooper could eventually take it over, or he might go out and win it on his own and hold on to it. That's the big thing about Clemson. We just don't know. It's hard to handicap them because you don't know how good their quarterback play is going to be.
I think if you're Dabo Swinney, you're trying to emulate your alma mater, especially this latter-day edition of it, because Alabama gets to the championship, and you look behind center, there's a different quarterback every year.
Right.
But why? Because they have dominant lines of scrimmage.
Not this year.
And this Clemson team has dominant lines of scrimmage.
Yeah.
They really do.
On both sides of the football.
They're going to be really, really good on the offensive line. All right, to the phones we go once again. Glenn in North Charleston with us next here on Sports Talk. Hello, Glenn.
How you doing, guys?
So far, so good. By the way, USC to win the national championship right now, 500-1.
I'd take it.
You know what? I might go put $1 down on that.
Yeah, man. Why not?
What you got to lose?
I think I have enough. Loyalty towards South Carolina that they're going to do well this year. I have faith that Jack Bentley is going to be very improved, and he will do great. So, there's no problem. And I was wondering, what was Navy chances on beating Army this year? Because Army beat them last year.
Yeah, finally.
I was there, actually, for that
Broke
game.
that long losing streak. Oh, that had to be great.
That was so much
Was that
fun.
incredible?
It was so much fun. Being on the field, watching the cadets rush the field.
Yeah.
That was so much fun.
Yeah, that's always my favorite game of the year, or one of them. But really, it's
You ever been?
never been.
Oh, you
Had
have,
some
you
friends
have to
go.
You
Well,
have to go.
It's always the Saturday South All-Star game here in South
True,
Carolina,
true.
so I'm tied up with that. But I love watching it, and it's just, you kind of wish all football was the way they play it. The respect for both sides, the way they do the alma maters at the end of the game, and the way the sportsmanship prevails on the field in that game, because these guys know, look, some of them are going to end up in battle somewhere or end up on a ship somewhere firing off missiles and stuff. They realize things are bigger than their surrounding on a football field.
And that was the best part about seeing the players after the game. Like, they all were hugging each other, and it wasn't just like it wasn't lip service. Like, they really is that brotherhood.
It's about as genuine as it can get.
It's been 15 years since they beat Navy.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah. By the way, if you want to get rich, take Arizona, put down $100. It's 1,000-1. But hey, Rich Rod,
could you name 5 Wildcat players right now?
But we had their coach hired.
I can name Rich Rod though. We'll be right back. We continue with this Tuesday edition of Sports Talk. We are loaded up. Will Pelagic now in place, taking his spots. Sports Talk high table here at our studios in downtown Columbia. Professor Tom Hayes is here as well. And Jared Rogers Martin back behind the bulletproof glass after taking another 4-day weekend. How many 4-day weekends can a person take in one calendar year? It's pretty amazing how that works out.
You know, it's just a philosophy that all work weeks should be for 4-day weekends.
I
so
agree.
I'm just trying to
that
set
is something that I
mode.
have been pushing for decades.
It's a religious belief,
Yeah.
Corn.
How many days are you taking off to celebrate the eclipse? I'm sure you've got a few days off built into that.
I've decided to take one off for every calendar day in the year just because it's such an astronomical event. So I'm calling it Earth Year, and I take off the whole year.
You want to hear something crazy about the eclipse?
Yeah.
Every hotel in this state is booked on that day.
I know. It's crazy.
So I was trying to get a hotel to be on an extended stay, and I could not find one. Thankfully, though, I got an apartment that'll get me in the day before the eclipse.
I mean,
so that I'll be free to blind myself the next day.
It's not like you can't see the eclipse from any point in the United States. You got to come to Columbia to watch it.
They said the center is over there in Lexington.
I know.
Right over there near Lexington. In fact,
it's like a diagonal swath all across the country.
Yeah. My pastor actually lives about, I would say, he says about a mile from where they think the epicenter will be.
The totality epicenter.
I was listening to our buddy Kevin Cohen on our station here in Columbia, The Point, and he was talking about the Fireflies, the minor league game.
They're going to stop the game.
They have a game that afternoon. They're going to stop the game and watch the eclipse, and then I guess go back and finish the game.
Don't watch the eclipse.
You're not supposed to watch it. I know they're supposed to give you glasses, but they
don't
tell you
watch
will burn your retina off, and you will not even know it.
I watched the one in 79. Wasn't it 79 the last time we had the eclipse, partial eclipse or something come through here?
I can't recall.
I think I watched it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited.
We got a poll question.
Let's see if we can come up with a T-shirt.
You know, that's the beginning of my first weekly vacation.
Are you going on vacation?
Yeah, I'll be on vacation.
Oh, good.
Man. Yeah.
You said something about a poll question?
We have a poll question up about my new nickname, or at least my new perspective nickname.
Yeah.
71% like my idea of Willie P.
Okay.
16% like Z.
No.
Zzz. Oh, zzz.
Zzz. Just Z?
Zzz.
That's it? Just Z?
Yeah. So introducing this new segment.
That's it?
Yeah. I thought that was a good one. It's got a ring to it.
8% love Dr. Z, only 5% like Z-Man.
Yeah.
It's on our
But
Twitter.
you didn't put my favorite, P-Lodge, on there.
I'll amend it.
Go back and put P-Lodge on there and watch the votes on flying.
P-Logic? It's something about talk show hosts and logic.
P-Lodge, P-L-O-G.
The word logic.
Daniel Banks on Twitter writes, I'd like to buy a vowel, Pat.
Absolutely.
I've heard that one before.
I bet. All right, very quickly, back to the phones, then recruiting, and we have a little bit more from Jake Bentley for you. Todd in Charleston, welcome into Sports Talk tonight. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I am a truck driver, man, and this is kind of like a high school football question. I was up in the upstate, I think it was past Friday, and actually it was this past Friday. And I was listening to a local sports show, and they were talking to a guy, Richie, I can't remember his last name, but he was some kind of voice of the Somerville Green Wave. I guess he does a play-by-play or something like that. But he said that they had a scrimmage with Conway, I think that day that they won. Then they had a game today, and this leads up to a big showdown Friday. Now, are they already playing, or is that who would they be playing Friday?
Well, what they've got going on right now are scrimmages all across the state. Teams are matching up. Some teams are traveling great distances to have good matchups. This Friday are jamborees around the state. The first Friday of the season is the following Friday, which would be, is that the 18th? Whatever that following Friday
week
is.
Zero.
Week 0 is Friday the 18th. So that's when it all begins. Whatever is going to be happening this coming Friday is not a regular season game. It's just a scrimmage or a jamboree. And we thank you for the phone call. By the way, that reminds me to remind you that, again, this football season, we'll have the high school football scoreboards for you every Friday night, beginning at 10 o'clock. Is that our first one? 10, 10:30, 11. Yes.
First one of the year. I mean, what weekend?
A week from Friday.
Right on, right.
Week from Friday. 10, 10:30, and 11. 5-minute scoreboards. We get you more scores in 5 minutes than other shows get you in an hour. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but it sounds good.
And it's kind of cheating now with the computers and
Nice
everything.
branding. Nice branding out of you.
You get the good scores when you used to call the police stations around every
Or the Waffle
town.
House. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let me give you the recruiting report for tonight. Then a little more with Jake Bentley. Defensive back Israel Mukuyamu of Bossier City, Louisiana, who committed to Florida State. Yeah, spell that one.
M-U-K.
It's hard to say.
How long were you? I saw you pronouncing that, or at least testing that out and trying to practice it a little bit.
Mukuyamu. I've said it a million times.
He's from Louisiana.
Well, he's from Charleston originally.
Right.
And so he's in Bossier City, Louisiana. He committed to Florida State back on July 24th, has not shut things down. He plans to take other official visits. He said 4, besides Florida State, USC, Indiana, Georgia, possibly Louisville. No dates have been set. He has been talking to USC's Travaris Robinson and also to Will Muschamp. They continue to tell him how much they want him. And he said they're not turned off by the fact that he committed to Florida State. And he said Florida State, they're going to have a lot of their commitments taking other visits, so he's not too worried about that. And anything can happen, he said, about possibly flipping to another school.
I mean, 3 seniors in the secondary immediately come to mind from USC. I mean, that's a position of great need for them this offseason.
Absolutely. Defensive lineman Rick Sandage of Concord, North Carolina, last night revealed his top 7. USC's on that list: North Carolina, Florida, Virginia Tech, Georgia, Michigan, Penn State. Defensive end Azeez Ojulari, Marietta, Georgia, plans to announce his decision on the 17th, as coach told SEC Country. Ojulari was cited in the same article as saying his decision likely would come from the group consisting of Clemson, USC, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee. I don't get a strong feel for Clemson or USC with him. He hasn't had that much in-person contact with either in terms of camps or visits that I can recall. So I don't know how really strongly he's looking at either one of those. Clemson offered offensive lineman William Barnes of Apopka, Florida. He recently put out a top 7 of Florida, North Carolina, Florida State, Ohio State, Alabama, Auburn, and Georgia. All right, there you go with recruiting. Unless Mr. Willie P has some recruiting he wants to share with us.
Y'all recruited me, so I think that's enough for today.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Well, when did we officially offer?
About 2 weeks ago, Tuesday.
Yeah. Were you leaning a particular way or at that particular time?
I had others. I had other official visits planned.
What were your top 3?
I had here. I had Portland, Oregon was one, and then there was another one waiting in the wings as well.
And what was the deciding factor?
Working with you.
There you go. Pushed you right over the top.
The barbecue also,
and the barbecue that we took off of you.
Yeah,
that was some good stuff. And you will be going back to Missouri,
back to the other Columbia
to cover the Gamecocks when they go. You're getting all the road trips this year. You're getting Missouri, you're getting College Station, and you're gonna go with Clemson up to Syracuse.
What road trips are you going on? You're sending me to Virginia Tech.
I'm going to Raleigh.
You're going to Knoxville as well.
I'm going to Knoxville. I'm going to all the other road trips. Probably.
Going to Louisville too?
I'm going to Louisville.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never been to Louisville, so I'm looking forward to that. Never been to a game at Louisville.
I can give you some tips in Louisville.
Really?
Eating tips.
Say hello to Whammy while you're there.
Yeah. I want to see Churchill Downs. I want to see the Spires. I've never seen those in person.
They're very nice. Very, very nice.
Yeah. You been to the race?
I've not been to the race, but I've been past the track.
Yeah. So I want to see that. That should be early in the year. Both teams should still be flying. I mean, Clemson will have played Auburn prior to that. We'll see how the Tigers stand after they play Auburn.
I want to see how Lamar Jackson goes up against that revamped Clemson.
Yeah, that Clemson defense is going to be an hour already. Cannot believe how quickly an hour has gone by. We'll be back with another hour, more from USC, Clemson as well, and your phone calls. Main Street Studio.
Michael Beasley.
All right. Everybody stand by. Kill those other mics. All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1. Defensive back Israel Mukuyamu, Bossier City, Louisiana, who committed to Florida State July 24th, is still open. And he says USC, Indiana, Georgia, and possibly Louisville will get official visits along with Florida State. Defensive lineman Rick Sandage of Concord, North Carolina, has a top 7 of USC, North Carolina, Florida, Virginia Tech, Georgia, Michigan, Penn State. Defensive end Azeez Ojulari of Marietta, Georgia, will announce on August 17th. USC, Clemson, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee he cited as strong possibilities. Phil Kornblut, South Carolina, Radio Network Sports. Defensive back Israel. Defensive back Carolina, Radio Network Sports.
I'm kind of sad that he's not with the Bears because that guarantees the Packers win every time we play the Bears. You can always count on Jay Cutler to throw a pick.
Defensive back.
That is a great statement for a president. Nice. Miami.
You can just moon over it?
Look out. Touchdown.
We can get back into that chat you guys were having yesterday about restricting the practices. I want to get back into that just because I like the word you used. It was paranoia.
Yeah. Hey, come on.
Like what are we doing here, man?
They got it can't be too much paranoia because for South Carolina, see, they used to practice on those fields that belong to our National Guard.
Over there? Oh yeah.
Then when they built the indoor facility, they put them back there. Right. But still, the people from that condo can go on top of the building and look from binoculars, just like the ones across the way used to look at practice from there. Oh. What they ought to do is the North Korean leader and Trump is just give them a bowl full of saltpeter. The testosterone is running a little bit too thick. Soccer.
North Korea says it's seriously considering a plan to strike Guam, according to him. You said you wanted to go to dinner, the three of us.
Who did?
You did.
I said that?
You did say that.
When did I say that?
Last week.
I'm good. Any night is good. Tonight's fine.
Tonight's fine with me.
Yeah. Where y'all want to go? Learfield Banquet? Come on, go Learfield.
He was a good safety in his day.
I like that's how we do it. I got some stuff. Oh, good. Good. Did you fix the two? I mentioned that, but I didn't know what you were talking about. And I kept meaning to ask you, what are you talking about on YouTube? I don't know what that is. Let me see if it came up on my phone. It comes up on the phone. But then as an alert.
I found it today. It was like right before the show. I had to fix it.
So you're able to fix it. Yeah. Oh, there it goes. Yeah. Good. It's fixed. Ooh.
It's time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornblue and Will Pelagic. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
And we're back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Tuesday night from downtown Columbia, Phil Kornblue. We welcome in Will Pelagic to Sports Talk. Professor Tom Hayes is here as well. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. On Twitter at SportsTalkSC. That's where you can follow along with us. Also, remind you, too, that anytime you lose us over the airwaves for whatever reason, you can find us on our website, sportstalksc.com. We have our video feed there, YouTube video. You can watch us. You can listen to us. You can tie it in to the Bluetooth in your car and listen to us that way, or find one of our outstanding affiliates, over 30 of them in the state, most of which can be found on the TuneIn app, some on iHeartRadio as well. So you can always find us and stick with us should you lose us over the airwaves for whatever reason.
You mentioned that Twitter. One of our Twitter followers has a question for you. It's at Trespass7. He's asking, why does Phil keep saying Clemson defense is nasty? They gave up a lot of points in games.
Why is Clemson's defense nasty? They gave up a lot of points in games. Well, I mean, if you watch them play, there's no other conclusion you can reach but that they are nasty. They're a good defense. They gave up 18 points a game last year.
Yeah.
18 points a game. 20
points inside a conference, which, by the way, is not very stout also.
Well, I mean, they were good. Look, they gave up some points. Trying to find the
I have it right here. The only defense in the conference that was better was Virginia Tech, at least in conference points per game. That was 18 points per contest. I honestly, I don't see why anyone would think that they're
shut
bad.
out Ohio State 31-0. I mean, that alone right there should tell you how good their defense is.
Right.
They're just good. I mean, I've seen them enough to know that.
The thing I love about their defense is they have movers of men on the interior line with Dexter Lawrence and Christian Wilkins. Those are mammoth movers of men.
Yeah, they clog things up in the middle too. And Wilkins is a guy that can also go outside and play defensive end if necessary.
I think the guy was he's probably thinking about the Louisville and Pittsburgh games. But those teams, see, the interesting thing about Clemson is because of having Deshaun Watson was a great defense when they got the lead on you.
Right.
Teams like Louisville and Pittsburgh in their game, and to a lesser extent NC State, because they stayed with Clemson, they could diversify their offense. They didn't have to throw to catch up. And so that Clemson's defense in those particular games were kind of off balance.
Well, they gave up 36 points to Louisville. They won the game. They gave up 36 points. But, Louisville is a terrific offense. If I remember correctly, there were a couple of interceptions that contributed to Louisville's points as well in that game, if my memory serves me right. Didn't Watson have a couple of picks that hurt them?
It's short field.
And against Pittsburgh.
They gave up a bunch of points. Yep. Virginia Tech and Alabama. They had some games there where they gave up some points. There's no doubt about it.
They were able to get it back. I think I don't want to say it was feast or famine, but yeah, there were some games where they did give some points. But I think you look at the big test against Alabama. I mean, fact remains is that you win that game. That game is the most important one on your schedule. I know you allowed 31 points, but you had the ability to come back and at least keep yourself in the football game as much as possible.
Well, after falling behind, they needed their defense to hold Alabama in check for a little while to give their offense a chance to come back, and they did. But then again, Alabama, you know, they went right down the field and scored when Clemson took the lead. Alabama, against that Clemson defense, went right down the field and scored with Hurts running the ball in with 2 minutes to go. Their biggest mistake was scoring so quickly.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Hurts should have taken a knee at the 5-yard line and run.
Yeah, but you got no guarantee you're gonna
Exactly.
score. Can you imagine if he had done that? Just imagine Saban's expression if he had gone to the sideline and said, "Coach, we're going to score from the 5-yard. I thought we'd eat up a little bit more clock here."
You make it look like an accident. You make it look like you tripped over the 5-yard line and fell down.
12th man coming in, trip you up there?
Yeah.
He has retorted. He says there's not any dominant defenses anymore, which I would say, are there defenses like
everything is
relative.
Yeah,
it's relative
in
to
today's
the era.
world of college football. I mean, you go through the season allowing 18 a game.
That's big.
Yeah. Now you're going to have some marks against you, as Clemson did. Even as great as that defense was last year, they gave up some points in some games, but they were complemented by an offense that was able to score more.
That shutout of Ohio State was dominant.
No, that was dominant.
That was dominant.
That's where you get the idea this is a dominant defense. That's a good offense, and you shut them out.
You pitched a shutout in that game.
Come on. And so, I think Clemson's defense is going to be very nasty again in 2017. Much of that personnel returns, and even some of the new guys who played big roles, like Tanner Muse, who played well when he got a chance late in the year at safety. They moved Van Smith over to the other safety. Tanner Smith steps up. The one cornerback spot, which is kind of up for grabs, still got some guys who have played some. There's not a spot back there where they don't have some guys with some experience. What I'm really looking forward to watching are those linebackers. Trey Lamar and Shaq Smith, two very heavily recruited guys coming out of high school, going to get their shot now. And I tell you what, Xavier Kelly is another guy to watch at defensive end who's having a very good camp. So there's plenty of talent on that defense. But he's right. I mean, as good as any defense can be, offenses today, the rules are in their favor. The talent is on the offensive side. They play this 7-on-7 style of football now, like football on roller skates, and it's hard. Even the best defenses have a hard time shutting down or stopping good offenses.
My only question on that defense is, will they miss the ball hawking ability of Ben Boulware? That's the big question for them, because every time you watch them play, he was around the football. And will Trey Lamar be able to make that happen?
That's the deal. It's really the alignment.
Right.
He called a lot of the alignments.
Right.
And so
because he knew where the ball was going.
So that's why I said the toughest thing to fill out is leadership. Number 4 on the offensive side and Ben Boulware on the defensive side, because they're the guys that call the signals. The key to Clemson, though, if you've seen the offense that's successful, is you didn't fall 10 to 14 points behind Clemson. If you did that, then their defensive line just pinned their ears back, and it's a track meet to the quarterback. So the key point to Clemson is you got to stay close to them offensively. If you fall behind by 2 scores, look out.
That Auburn game, the second week of the season, is going to be intriguing, because you're talking about the Clemson defense the way we are against an Auburn offense that's got a lot of firepower. It's got a proven quarterback transferring in, a guy that can really make you respect the pass. He's a big kid with a big arm. They got 2 of the best running backs in the SEC. They got a lot of skilled position weapons. It's going to really challenge that Clemson defense, and we'll see how Brett Venables plays it. Does he try to bring pressure? Does he try to protect his secondary and rely? The beautiful thing about Clemson's defense, if you're Venables, for the most part, they've been able to rely on a 4-man pass rush.
It's an all immediate proving ground. Weeks 2 and 3 both are, with not only the trip to Louisville to see Jackson again, but also with that Auburn contest. And it is a different Auburn team than you saw last year at Jordan-Hare, because you get Jarrett Stidham in there. And I think that because of that just puts so much more of an emphasis on your ability on the offensive side of the football with Kelly Bryant to be as stout as possible.
You mentioned Brent Venables, but the real little human story is a guy who calling defensive signals for the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah.
Got it familiar with Clemson, I believe.
That's going to be a very big side story. Of course, we played that story out last year when they met at Auburn, but it's a little bit different deal with him sitting up in the coach's box at Clemson or walking on the visitor sideline. All right, a break is coming up. We've got more from USC practice, some Dabo Swinney coming up, we think, Kerry Tharp too. And your calls, 800-956-7266. Back in a moment. It is Sports Talk here on a Tuesday night from downtown Columbia. Phone number 800-956-7266. We welcomed in Will Pelagic to Sports Talk tonight. If you ever get hit in the head while you're doing the show and you can't remember the phone number, here's an easy thing to remember. 800 is easy.
Right.
956. Just remember that. And then just remember for the last part, what? Perry's 2
football numbers, his NFL number and his Clemson number. In the NFL, he wore 72. At Clemson, he wore 66.
Gotcha.
So if you ever get hit in the head, you can't remember the last part, just think William Perry.
956 7266.
I'm
there.
Yeah.
You know what I do need for the callers,
Yeah.
and we'll do this periodically. I need some food recommendations for around the state, not just in Columbia and Clemson, but when we go around and do these trips around the state, we need some eating recommendations for me, because as you know, it doesn't look like I've missed very many meals.
Well, this is very simple for me. There's a Waffle House at every exit, so I never go hungry when I travel around the state. I'm very easy to please.
See, I'm a foodie. I love Waffle House. I love me some Waffle House.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I need me some
always
options.
open and always
Now
good.
you got some of these little towns that have their little personal haunts.
That's what I want.
That's you have to. Hey, that's where you have to experiment. You just have to go off the beaten trail.
I got some of the love on the Twitter from some stuff in Spartanburg earlier yesterday too when we did our Twitter Q&A. So there were some options.
I'm sure somebody recommended the Beacon.
I don't know if it
to
was
you
the
in
Beacon.
Spartanburg.
I don't know if it was the Beacon. It was a personal possessive. I think I don't know who was
A personal possessive.
It was a person's name with a possessive on it.
Oh, okay, okay.
Like
That
like
was,
Lee's or something like that.
That was the late Charles Kuralt favorite haunt when he used to visit through Spartanburg. Go to the Beacon.
The Beacon. That's world famous, the Beacon. Now, speaking of the Spartanburg area, that's where Jake Bentley hailed from before moving to Alabama for a little bit. But now he's at USC getting ready for his sophomore season, knowing that much is expected of him. And he's going to have the flexibility this season to actually run the offense on the field in terms of not calling the plays, but changing the plays and calling audibles and things of that nature. Now that he's got a full grasp on the offense, he spoke with us today after practice and talked about now having that bit of ability to call audibles and how that will help him run this offense.
And Coach Roper, he'll give us some checks that we need to look for, and I feel like I've done a good job of seeing the tips and getting us out of a bad play.
How much does that help you, that having that power?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we have unlimited power to do it, but, Coach tells us, if we run this play, we got this look, it's not a good play. We can still run it and probably still get the ball out, but, there's better plays that we can get to, and just seeing that and knowing that, offense is going to be in a good play every time.
Coach Roper's putting the plan together, his sheet for every Saturday. Does he talk to you about that? Do y'all go over that? And does he say, what do you like here? Would you pick this one or that one and that kind of stuff? Yeah,
for sure. Every day we talk about it. And, he expects me to do my film work and be ready to answer those questions. If I go in there and just say, whatever, coach, he's going to know that, I'm not taking it serious. So I got to come in there and, have plays that I like. And he definitely listens to us and listens to the other coaches and about what we think works. And when we propose something to him, though, we got to have, a rationale of why it works, based on film. So if you want something run, you better have a reason behind it. So.
All right, Jake Bentley from earlier today, as we heard from some of the offensive people over at USC following their practice. Another good, hard physical practice, according to everybody involved with that. One of the folks that we heard from as well, and you were over there with him, the wide receiver coach, Brian McClendon. You had a chance to talk with him some.
Very interesting. And a lot of the talk initially was about Deebo Samuel and the fact that he is a next-level talent, but you also want to protect him. And he has a special way of trying to make sure that Deebo stays healthy.
First, you got to knock on wood and not ask about it. You know what I mean? But I'll say this. You do have to take preventative precautions. You know what I mean? So he's one of those guys that we actually do hydration tests now. He's one that's constantly on that. Obviously you got to make sure that you watch him during certain times when he hits certain yardage milestones in practice and things of that nature. But the other thing is just making sure we're doing everything we can do off the field, like eating right, getting the right amount of rest, things like that. And so I think that's the biggest step that he's taken forward to better himself in that area so far.
What's your favorite thing that he can do?
Say this, he's a really good football player that plays wide receiver, if that makes any sense, so he's not like just a wide receiver out there. He doesn't mind the contact. He doesn't mind getting in there and blocking, and just how much he loves the game of football. That's probably my favorite thing about him.
Wide receiver coach Brian McClendon talking about Deebo.
I really like USC's receivers group now. I think they have put together through recruiting a very exciting group, a talented group. with Debo, of course, leading it, but Hayden Hurst being a very big target, a big body. Nobody on that team works harder than he does. He's older. He's driven. He loves the work factor that goes into it. He's just driven by that. You're seeing Casey Crosby is he's a guy that doesn't get a whole lot of the headlines playing behind Hurst, but he's a very capable tight end type of receiver himself. And then Brian Edwards, who looks great in person, big, tall target. You got Davis now starting to come on a little bit. Then you add in Shi Smith and Trey Smith from the recruiting class. My goodness, they're starting to really load up at the wide receiver spot. And a talented quarterback will attract, you have that kind of year offensively, talented quarterback will attract that kind of talent.
But the bad thing about it is you only have one football.
Well,
but the interesting thing,
you get 90 plays a game, you'll get your touches.
And of course, I think Davis is a good change-up, in my opinion, just seeing the short level that we saw him play at for that jet sweep. Everybody thinks the jet sweep is coming when Debo's in the game because he rushed for about 3 or 4 touchdowns out of the jet sweep.
Well, the thing with Debo is, as terrific as a receiver that he is, he only had 1 touchdown catch last year. Now he had some other touchdowns on that jet sweep.
Right,
he's very tough inside the red zone, and USC's become pretty automatic at calling that play because it works. But my goodness, he's got to catch some touchdown passes down the field.
I want to see Debo and Shi on the same side and put Shi in the slot. They can crisscross. You can run a wheel out with both of them. And basically you make the defensive backs have to make a choice. And if they choose wrong, Jake goes the other way.
And you can run a pick play that
exactly. Well,
just call Hunter Renfrow and ask him how to pull that off.
It's called
actually though. I just watched the championship game again the other day, and I've watched that play over and over again. And I know they were calling it a rub or a pick, but if you go back and look, the defender, the defender on Renfrow stepped up into Renfrow and kind of like put his hands, their hands kind of came together. The defensive back covering the inside. No, let me see if I got this right. Hunter was inside, right?
Yes.
And he went out. So the guy covering Hunter had to go behind the defensive back who was covering the outside receiver, who got caught up in sort of a bit of an entanglement.
Right.
And he had to go behind him. I'm not so sure it was a pure pick play because the defender covering Renfrow was never touched. He just had to go behind the congestion and lost contact with Renfrow.
Question. At the end of the game, what did Derek Watson say?
At the end of the game?
Yeah.
Well, he didn't say
Deshaun Watson.
Derek Watson is not saying a whole lot.
Deshaun Watson, what did he say? You remember he said it was a pick.
Well, yeah, they did.
He tried to correct himself. Yeah. But I tried to give the coaching staff some credit because of the Big 12 games I saw, as I told you last year, Big 12 officials did not call a pick. 12 officials on that field that night. I figured, hey, I give Clemson's coaching staff the credit and say they called.
That's an excellent point. I mean, it's staffs. Refereeing staffs are going to call things and not call things that they're used to calling during the regular season.
As somebody who went to a school that played in the Big 12 while I was there, it's not a new thing that Big 12 refs are blind. That's not a new thing.
Historically, huh?
It's historically. Yeah. I have market evidence on that.
Do you have any since you were a Mizzou student, did you go and steal any rocks out of the off the hillside?
I have a rock off the hillside.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of other things too, though.
Is that right?
We can talk about that.
All right, we'll be right back. Kerry Tharp, KT, coming up. A lot of NASCAR news to discuss. Okay, we are back. It is Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Time to talk NASCAR. We welcome in El Presidente of Darlington Raceway, Kerry Tharp. KT, how are you?
Good night. Good evening. How's it going?
Good night. Save that for the wife.
Night.
But say hello
That's
to
right.
our new Sports Talk co-host, Will Pelagic, is here in studio with us now and moving forward.
Welcome aboard, Will. It's great to have you on Sports Talk. I'll be thinking about you having to put up with Phil and the professor, but actually I caught some of your interview the other night when you were, I think they had just announced that you were coming aboard. So excited to have you with the program, and again, congratulations.
Thank you, Kerry. I appreciate it. I don't know why everybody says you're so hard to deal with. Maybe it's just
I have no idea why they say that.
Maybe it's because I don't know.
I look in the mirror, I see a very nice guy.
You have a reputation that precedes you, apparently.
Apparently. All right,
That's
KT.
right.
KT, on to more important stuff here. Now, I'm about to fill out my credential request for the Bojangles
Right.
Southern 500. And you guys have changed all the media traffic flow and this, that, and the other. We got to go to different. How am I supposed to find the media center?
Well, Phil, I'm sure you'll find the media center because you'll smell the Bojangles that'll be in there. But no, we do have a couple of different entry points this year. It's gate 39B instead of 39A is the main gate that everyone will be coming into off of 151, and that'll give us a better traffic flow. We don't think it will have as many bottlenecks there. And then the media center parking, I think it's going to be a little bit better for you because you won't have to contend with all the golf carts and foot traffic that you would had to in the past. So you really will just be taking left a little closer or a little before you get to the media center than in the past. But we'll still have your same reserved parking space there, Phil. We'll have the Monster Girls there to let you out of the car and everything. So, you should be good to go.
I was going to say, you smell the Bojangles, you know where to go.
You know what I'm looking for? The
That's
Monster
exactly
Girls
right.
and a 3-piece with double fries and 2 biscuits. And
We can handle all of that.
I much prefer the 2-piece, if you know what I'm talking about.
I'm happy. I'm happy. Hey, listen, we put the Sports Talk Kiss on Martin Truex Jr. last week, and he went out and got it done Sunday.
Well, he really did, Phil. I tell you, I don't think there's anybody more in his own right now in all of motorsports and maybe in sports in general than Martin Truex Jr. It's his 4th win of the season. He's led, just about every lap, it seems. He's won, I think, 14 stages. He's racked up so many playoff points, and he's going to be able to carry those points throughout the playoffs. And so, right now, I think I was listening this morning on one of the programs says that he has, he could go into the playoffs with almost a race lead over some people. So, that's pretty impressive. And, I got to believe right now that he's starting to hone in on the playoffs and take a look and see what he's got to do to advance and get to Homestead, Miami.
Is it possible? You're going to have to further explain the playoff point system to me because I'm not totally clear on that. But listening to him after the race, talking about having enough points to maybe just automatically get to Homestead and be one of the 4. How does that work?
Well, not necessarily. There is some playoff points that he can carry over from race to race, but he's not going to have enough points lead where he can just lay back and get to Homestead because if you remember, if you win a race in one of those quadrants of the playoffs, you automatically advance. And so winning is still a premium. And so, it's a situation where you want to run hard the entire playoff. You can't just sit back and say, well, I'll just let it come to me, because if you get people that win during that time, then they'll kick you back out of the equation. And so, he's going to have to run hard the entire time. Now, what he will have when he gets into the opening round of the playoffs, he could have a little bit of a cushion there over some of these drivers, but a win by somebody else will kind of negate all the points that he might have. And so, and then of course, when you get to Homestead, Miami, 4 drivers, it's, whoever finishes ahead, it's pretty much winner take all there. So, he's still got he's still going to have to contend and compete at a high level.
Kerry, interestingly enough, the scuttlebutt in NASCAR circles obviously now kind of surrounds Casey Kane and Hendrick Motorsports and the separation from those two entities. I know that the reports are out about William Byron. Well, how do you read that whole situation, and how do you react to what's going on there?
Well, that's kind of interesting, Will. Casey Kane is, when he came over to Hendrick Motorsports a few years ago, people ticketed him as somebody that was going to compete for championships, and it just didn't materialize. And so, I think he won one race about 4 years ago in Atlanta, and then won the Brickyard a couple weeks ago, but it wasn't enough for him to keep his job. And so, sponsorship's a big deal right now, and I think they'd lost the sponsor over there on the 5 car, and I think that they feel that a young driver like William Byron is likely to attract more sponsorship opportunities and perhaps Casey Kane. And so I don't think Hendrick has officially announced William Byron coming aboard, but if you connect the dots, all the reports that came out today, it seems like it's all but done. And so you look over at Hendrick Motorsports, it's pretty interesting. They've gone from a team that had 3 veterans when they had Johnson, Dale Jr., and Jeff Gordon. Now, next year, if their lineup it reads like I think it will, you'll have Jimmy Johnson at 42 years old. You'll have William Byron at 19. You'll have Chase Elliott at 21 and Alex Bowman at 24. So, Jimmy's going to feel like the pops when he's running around the garage with those guys. But, Rick Hendrick knows what he's doing, and he's building a team for the future anchored by a 7-time champion.
All right, what's happening over at Darlington here? As boy, it's coming up quickly, just a couple of more weeks, and it'll be your day in the sun. And what do you guys have to get done between now and then?
Well, just a lot of detail work, Phil. I walked the property yesterday for almost 2 hours and made a checklist of about 2 pages of things that needed to be done. Nothing major, but things I thought needed to be done for us to put on the best event possible. So it's a little details right now. It's making sure the property's pristine and looks exactly like we want it to look, making sure that all the painting and all the signage and the directional signage and the parking signage and all of our security is intact. And we've had a bunch of organizational meetings over the past 6 to 8 weeks. We'll have a big meeting on Monday with our staff and go over, what if situations, what happens if we have severe weather, what happens if there's a tragedy that happens on site or on property or a crisis or something. So we have to be prepared. People step on our property. So it's a lot of the details right now and just kind of getting prepared for the big event.
How's the track look?
Track looks great. We had some work, a little minor work done on it a little bit this summer. We had a tire test back in July. The drivers gave it a thumbs up. It's looking really good. The drivers said that it races as good as they've ever seen it race. So we're putting on some paint. We're putting all the logos on there. I mean, things are really starting to shape up. And, I'd say over the next 10 to 14 days, we'll see some activity over there with trucks coming in and tents getting set up and those types of things.
She going to eat up some tires?
I think we will eat up some tires, but that's kind of what Darlington's been known for. Tire wear is something that the drivers and the teams relish, and I think that there will be some fall off with these tires, and certainly our track is not very forgiving when it comes to tires. So I think that even makes it a better race for the fans.
Well, one thing really quick, Kerry, I'm glad you got that Labor Day weekend date back. Couple years back. I know that you were racing in April, but I'm glad you got that Labor Day weekend date back.
Well, no question, Will. It's the date that we belong on. Phil's been in this state a lot longer than I have, and he knows the significance of Labor Day when it comes to Darlington. And we're glad to be there. We look to be there for many, many more years to come.
KT, always a pleasure du jour, and we will talk to you next week. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Sounds good. And again, Will, welcome aboard.
Thank you, Kerry.
All right, Kerry Tharp, President, Darlington Raceway, here on Sports Talk. Back.
All three of the
You've been getting some work on the defensive side of the ball. How's that been?
Thanks again to Kerry Tharp, KT from Darlington, joining us tonight here on Sports Talk. Hard to believe it's almost time to go racing at the Lady in Black once again. All right, Clemson wrapping up their practice today. First day in full pads for the Tigers. You know, they've been waiting to get to that, get back to the feel of playing real football. And interviews with the Tigers post-practice and with Dabo Swinney just wrapping up. No Dabo into us just yet, but we do have some of the Tiger players, including one of the running back candidates, Adam Choice. Now, he is, in my mind, you know, Tavian Feaster is the guy who could emerge. But, you know, you still have C.J. Fuller, you still have Adam Choice, and you have the freshman coming in from Louisiana. But Adam Choice has been around. He's gone through the knee thing. He has lost a bunch of weight, I think, as well, and looks pretty good. And here he is talking with the media after practice just a little while ago about getting out in the full pads and getting after it today.
Oh, this is over the top. I mean, I've been waiting to get back out there and prove what I can do for a long time. So, I mean, that's what I'm pushing to do. I mean, I know last year I didn't feel like I left a great impression on a lot of people, especially I didn't feel good about my season myself personally. So, I mean, I got some goals set this year, and I'm definitely trying to hit those marks and go beyond those, surpass those.
Is there a little added pressure during that paw drill? You're like, man, this is one of my chances to impress the coaches, you know, to show I can run physical hard, still slip through a hole.
Oh no, sir. I believe Paul drill is just we're not trying to really leave an impression. We're trying to get better. It's the physical aspect of the game that we know we got to run in the trenches. It's not going to be easy, but it's something we have to do. It's something we have to learn to do. So if we're doing that, practicing that, getting better, then we're getting better as a group. We're getting better individually. Learning how to play low, strike with the rising blow, and drive our feet. So it's certain situations that coaches would like to see that, but I believe it's more for our personal growth and development than it is for the coaches.
All right, Adam Choice, Clemson running back after a practice today. Jarmart wants to know, what is the paw drill? That's sort of like Clemson's version of the Oklahoma drill.
Which is what they call the one at USC, the cock drill as well.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody takes their own approach to it.
I'm
It's just
still-
where
I agree with
it's where you put a lineman against a lineman and
linebacker against a running back.
and let them just
Let 'em go
knock
at
the
it.
slobber
That
out
was
of each other.
That was my least favorite thing to do in high school.
And when
Were you a
Phil-
good football player in high school?
No.
and when Phil talked to Steve Spurrier, he had the quarterbacks in the
I think they tried to get
You
me
did,
to quit the football team during Oklahoma drill.
You did remember that.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Phil,
he made the quarterbacks go through.
no.
No,
But
no,
Phil
no,
asked
no,
the
no.
question.
I
Phil
asked
said,
a
"What
stupid
about
question.
what about him going to Oklahoma drill?" And Steve Spurrier looked at it. Oklahoma drill. What are you talking?
I asked a stupid question.
What are you talking about?
Yes.
I can't imagine.
It was
that.
a rare moment, but yes, indeed.
I like what you said about Feaster, because I think he has more big play ability of the three to choose from. And I think Choice is right. The last year is a year to forget. I mean, he didn't really come out and kind of come out of his shell again. It's hard to do that when you had what was behind him or what was in front of him, right, with Wayne Gallman obviously getting much of the attention. But you have to make the most of your opportunities. And you have three very, very hungry runners in that backfield.
Well, the scary thing is in high school, even though Feaster was a running back, I thought a lot of his big plays came in the passing game. It's almost like you want one of those other guys to emerge so you can have an excuse to have Feaster see what he can do in the slot. It's a good.
You don't want it to be
dilemma.
a complete. You don't want it to be a complete giveaway,
No.
though. You want to
No.
at least prove that he can run the football.
Exactly.
Well, I think a lot of people from this state who know of Tavian Feaster, they want to see him get his shot. Now, you have to earn your shot,
Yes.
but they want to see him get his shot, give him 20 carries, and see what he can do. And I got to believe against a Kent State team that is not a very good team, playing for their coach's job at Kent State this year. Of course, they had a tragedy this summer with a player dying during a summer workout, and there's some controversy over that. Even today, there's an issue, a news story about that situation. But anyway, this will be a chance for a lot of these guys to pile up some numbers offensively, I would think, against Kent State. And so here's the thing we don't know. Exactly what is Clemson's offense going to look like here after Deshaun Watson? After having Watson there for 3 years as a starting quarterback, better part of 3 years, you knew what to expect in terms of what Clemson was going to do. You just couldn't stop it. Now, we do not know what to expect from Clemson's offense. Will they change their philosophy because of their quarterback situation? With a veteran, talented, big offensive line and some good running backs, do you line up and go more with the running game to take some of the pressure off that quarterback? Maybe even line up in two tights a good bit and feed the ball to those running backs? Or do you have if a quarterback emerges who can be successful throwing down the field and is not going to make mistakes in the passing game, do you stick with what you've done so well the past few seasons?
I think if I'm Jeff Scott, Tony Elliott, and I'm putting up the game plan for Kent State, I want the ball in Kelly Bryant's hands as much as possible if Kelly Bryant is a starting quarterback. But I also want the ball out of his hands. I want other people making plays. I want it out of his hands quick. I want a lot of diagonal routes. I want, stretching the field vertically and also horizontally. As much misdirection and getting the ball away from him as possible, because that's only going to make him better, and it's also going to keep him clean.
In other words, you want to see a lot of elongated handoffs disguised as passes.
True.
Yeah, you get guys out in space, see what they can do.
Now, this is a Kent State team that managed only 3 wins last year. And
ain't your father's Kent State with Jack Lambert?
No.
Saban and all those guys.
They lost to Penn State, 33-13. They lost to Alabama 48-0. Those are the 2 big boys on their schedule. And, you can their defense, obviously, against the better teams struggled some last year. So I would think this would be a good opportunity for the first-time players on the Clemson offense to go out, post some numbers, playing in front of the hometown fans, get that experience behind them, and then get ready for the Big Daddy coming up the next week, the Auburn Tigers.
And that's going to be the good one. But Kelly Bryant, I think the key point is, and I think the coaches are probably doing this, we got perfect packages for you guys. This is what you're going to do. In other words, get it out of their heads that they have to emulate number 4. Get that out, flush that out quickly, and say, this will define you. This is the game plan we have for you, your skill set, and see what you can do with it.
That's hard to flush. It's very hard to flush.
All right, tomorrow, USC is off tomorrow. They have a scheduled day off tomorrow, so there'll be no USC practice, interviews, or anything like that. Clemson, today is the 8th, right? So Clemson tomorrow will practice from 4:40 till 7 o'clock. There'll be some interviews after practice, so we'll have more for you from Clemson tomorrow night on the program. We do have other interviews from USC that we'll share with you tomorrow night. We talked to Donnell Stanley. We talked to Brian Edwards. We talked to Malik Young and
the one that's
a bevy of other offensive players.
The Malik Young left tackle battle. We'll ask Malik Young about that. He had some very interesting answers about the dichotomy between him and Dennis Daly.
Brian Edwards, part of our conversation with him was about the new helmet, the newly designed specific helmet that he and a number of the USC players are wearing. These were helmets that they were individually fitted for in the summer that are to help with the concussion situation. And I asked him, you know what people are saying and what the reports are about CTE. And as a football player at this level, I asked him, how do you feel about playing a game? And they're talking about the long-lasting effects for the rest of your life. And he said, it's I just love the game, and I want to play. I'm paraphrasing here. I love the game. I just want to play the game. I'm not concerned. I'm not thinking about that at this particular time. So I think that's the mindset of guys who aren't playing the game at this level and at the NFL level. They love the game, and they're not concerned about what could come down the road.
At this age, they're indestructible.
That's how they feel.
All indestructible.
Okay, thank you, Will.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pro. Thank you, Jar Martin. Thanks to all of you. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.